Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. I'm Preacher Moss, host of the ShOUT Show. I hope everybody's having a fabulous Wednesday. We are halfway through the week, and hopefully Thursday and Friday will come and go quickly. I don't know about you, but I'm ready for the weekend again. Our topic today is why democracy is dead. I feel like one of my old G's on the corner that sit there and tell stories just like Dolomite and folks like that. They said back in the day, they said that freedom and justice had a baby, and it was called democracy. Freedom and justice had a baby, and it's called democracy. They said, but no, but democracy never had a babysitter. Nobody fed democracy, so democracy grew up on its own. And it grew up without rules, it grew up without morals, it grew up without ethics. What it grew up with was power. And people attach power to democracy that wasn't raised on any kind of code, any kind of morals, any kind of foundational understanding. It goes from left to right, to right to left, to right to right, to right to left. And here we are today, brothers and sisters. I actually have a topic saying why democracy is dead. That's right, Muslims. There was a janazah for democracy and you missed it. But today we're going to talk about why it does not work. And the killer part is, while democracy is dead, why are people trying to kill it again? Clearly it doesn't work, brothers and sisters. And I'm going to tell you why it doesn't work after we have a couple messages. But my point is, we have to be able to look at what processes are for people who are not invested in us as people, us as human beings, us as law-abiding citizens. See, even the law under democracy doesn't work. You hear what I'm saying? Even the law under democracy doesn't work. When I say it doesn't work, it means that it was never meant to work. Democracy is this fallacy, brothers and sisters. Democracy is this pie in the sky idea. Democracy is the thing that attacks religion, the thing that says no. The democratic process cannot be a religious process. And whoever said that the democratic process was a religious process? It was a God-centric, God-fearing process. We talked about taqwa. We talked about wisdom, hikmah. We talked about all these things. You ever notice all the words that come out of religious texts, particularly in Islam, have no place in the lexicon when we talk about current situation in the United States, especially when we talk about democracy. I don't even know what the Arabic word for democracy is. I don't even know. I've never even seen it work. Democracy doesn't work in the Middle East. It doesn't work in Israel. It doesn't work in the UK. It doesn't work here. It doesn't work in Canada. You know, it does not work, brothers and sisters, because it's not people-centric. It's not really focused on the fact that people have different narratives and different needs in their lives. And there's this overriding obsession to make sure with democracy that we're going to take a square peg and ram it in a circle hole. And that's what we have, brothers and sisters. This is the ultimate abasement. This is the thing that wakes up. Shaitan wakes up in the morning, get ready to work, and he looks over his clock and he hits the snooze button. You know why? He goes, no, don't worry about it. Democracy's still there. Okay, so like I said, I hope everybody's having a good day. And I'm going to tell y'all something. I think I am in my feelings a little bit. I am in my feelings a little bit, you know, because I watched basically two documentaries on the Tulsa massacre, the Tulsa race massacre. And I said it here, and it's nothing new. Okay, I said it here when I talked about the Tulsa massacres. And this is what I said. I can't repeat myself verbatim. You can go back and look at the old show. But I said that the thing about the Tulsa massacres, we forget that there were massacres happening all over the United States. All over the United States. Detroit, Mississippi, Chicago. Guess what? There was an Asian massacre in California. Why? Because the Asians were there for the gold rush. And we're not really putting the pieces together, which is a part of this idea of democracy, because democracy makes you think that things are linear. They are not linear. They are non-linear. They're parts of a puzzle that don't even fit together. They're not even the same puzzle. But we have this thing that makes us believe that it all fits together, and it's called law. And what is democracy without the law that enforces the idea of democracy? Why do you need a law to enforce Democracy, brothers and sisters. That's why I said I'm in my feelings. I'm totally in my feelings. And I'm not mad and I'm not upset, but I'm here to tell you, we now have a situation. But some of the people who have expounded the virtues of democracy and wait, and the process will work it out, and the process will calibrate, and it'll come back to you, black people, it'll come back to Native Americans, it'll come back to the poor. Don't worry about you people. It's going to work for you. As long as it's working for me first, it's going to work for you. And now we see people, they won't even say it, they're so cowardly. They won't even admit that democracy is not working for them. And that is white people. White people, white liberals. That's why you had the George Floyd protests and all of that, because you realize what we've been saying for years, that democracy is flawed. It doesn't work. Now, to our credit, a lot of folks say it don't work. I'd rather roll the dice. Pardon the pun. Rather roll the dice with my Lord, my God, than roll the dice with this politician, this senator, and this congressperson, because they basically are in a cesspool. They know it's not going to work, brothers and sisters. That's why they have terms. You ever heard of they have terms? You know what terms is? It's not the amount of time they stay in office. The terms is they accept the idea that they know that their time in office, they're not going to be protecting or practicing democracy. Case closed. I like doing that. Case closed. Yeah, I'm right here. Okay. So here we go, brothers and sisters. We're going to start the show. Appreciate this shout out to this Preacher Moss. Let it rip. All right, everybody. Thank you for letting me take a little steam off the top. I hope you still sticking with me. Let me give you some shout outs. First of all, I want to give a shout out to my cousin Kendrick. He's going under the knife today, surgery. Diabetes is a very, very cruel disease, and it claims a lot of us, particularly African Americans and Latinos. It claims a lot of us, and I would say that, we need to get checked out. Kendrick's case is a little bit different, but, life is life, and lives are interconnected, if you will. So please keep him in your prayers. He's undergoing surgery today. I'll try and give you guys a little bit of an update. I let him know that everybody from the Shout Out Show wished him well and sent prayers his direction. And that's important, brothers and sisters. And I'm going to say this too, when people are well, send prayers their direction. I like calling people up sometimes and saying these words, man, I just called you just to check on you. I don't have any agenda. You good? Your mama good? And I think we need to get back to that, because it's a very organic thing. Some of the OGs called me up. Ramadan was different this year because I didn't really have the OGs that called me up and say, hey, brother, get up. It's time for Ramadan. Now, can you imagine having that for 30 plus some years? That somebody call you to say, get up for Ramadan at the first day, and the guidance that comes from that type of practice is second to none. It is literally second to none. The aspect of having a shout out show is really the aspect of having people that allowed me to have not particular, parts in the conversation, but they let me listen. As a child, I listened to some of the things in the world that adults were saying. I was clear, and they reminded me that you just a child. You will deal with these things as an adult at some point in time. But right now, listen to men talk about life. Listen to women talk about life. Whether it's black men, black women, Latino, listen to your elders talk about life. Even now, at my age, I would never jump in a conversation between two men who are 80-some years old, because my knowledge does not apply. My knowledge is only capitulates to what they've been through in their lives. So yes, as I said in the opening, I was in my feelings about Tulsa and the race riots, because I'm gonna tell you why. It's never stopped. It's never stopped. The absence of ropes and lynching and stuff like that. Hey man, I'm gonna tell you something. You got to put a rope around somebody's neck to kill them. You do not have to do that. So before I get into this, because I'm gonna be here for a little bit. Before I get into it, let me welcome people to the show. It's your first time coming on the show. Hey, welcome. Welcome. I normally have a long list of things, but here's the deal: you're on the show. If you want to be a part of the show, get in the comment section. We call that effectively getting your shout out. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. There's a pecking order. There are people who have been here from day one, and I give them their shout outs first. There's nothing, but you got to respect the people who've been in the game with you. You see what I'm saying? But you could be in the game too. You won't necessarily be shout out show royalty. You got to come back and do that. You got to earn your stripes. Like in the military, you got to earn your stripes. But we will offer you a generous platform. We will respect you, and we will treat you as family. That's what I say. And if you want to click link buttons, it doesn't matter to me. We've been on for 400 some episodes. Doesn't matter at this point in time. So I'm going to show you how this works for all the brothers and sisters who are out there, who are not in the comment section, and the spies and the federal agents. Let me show you how the Shout Out Show works. Who we got in the building? Stars in the building. Who we got? Of course, we got Sister Reed. What's going on, Reed? I just finished off that food you had last night. It was good. It was good. Boy, it was like, there's some in that stuff. I had to check myself. I thought I was going to have to go to a support group. I don't know what's in that food, but it was good. It was good. I'm going to give a shout out to you, Juwan. Also want to give a shout out to Brother Derek. Derek, we hope you're doing well as well. Love is love, family is family. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Reed. We appreciate you. Next up. My mother said no sound. What you mean no sound? Shoshana, can you hear me? Mom, there's a thing on a computer called a mute button. I think you've hit it. Sometimes my mother was doing so well. She was getting on here, giving her comments, and we get so close, Mama. We get so close, and then you just pull us back. It's just a setback. It's like the finish line is right there for the show. Like, we're going to get there. We're going to make it. We're going to make it. And somebody just trips us. Bam! Right on the face. All right. And I'm saying that, you know why? Because her mute button is still on. She probably couldn't hear me. Recall my mom and tell her how to work the mute button. Thank you, Mom, for coming on the show. Hopefully the show is not on mute. Next up, we got my main man, Altaf Rashid, my brother, all the way from Canada, the official, brothers and sisters, the official ambassador of the Shout Out Show from Canada. We have a Canadian ambassador, and he works out everything that makes sure the flow of the show is correct on this side of the border and the other side of the border. So, thank you so much for coming on the show, Altaf. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brother. Always a pleasure to have your presence on the show. Big up to Altaf. Next up, Roberto, brother, you back 2 days in. Roberto, I'm gonna make you honorary Shout Out Show family, brother. You came back 2 days in a row. I thank you so much for coming on the show. And next time I yell out stars in the building, you will be a star in the building, brother. But here's the deal now. We're making you a star in the building. We're giving you your stripes. But you got to pray for us, man. You got to have well wishes for everybody in the Shout Out Show family. That's all we ask. And I'm going to say everybody who's looking in the Shout Out Show family, we want to make sure that Brother Roberto has our du'as too. It works both ways. Roberto, glad to see you in the building. Assalamu alaikum. Who we got next? We got Sister Satana, our consultant producer, of which none of this is possible, of which I can't even use my hands, brothers and sisters, because when Sister Satana is not here, I'll be talking, looking at the camera with my hands be all over the place trying to make stuff work. Well, it takes a team. They say teamwork makes the dream work. That makes it work here on the Shout Out Show, and it is applicable. So let's get to this, brothers and sisters. Let's get to this. Let's get to our topic today. Why democracy is dead. Now, a lot of you are going to think preachers are going to give you all of this political stuff, and I can give you the political stuff. But I decided to do something different. I'm going to give you the political stuff, but I'm going to give it to you through a particular prism. I'm going to give it to you through the prism of an entertainer. However, I'm not going to give it to you through the prism of this entertainer. You see what I'm saying? Not me. I'm giving it to you through the prism of another entertainer. We've talked about him briefly. We say he's America's first black star. First black star. Really, I'm not even saying it, first black star, particularly in comedy. Bert Williams. Now, I told you guys about this book. This book is Burt Williams, Burnt Cork, Broadway, in the story of America's first black star. Why is that important? Because Bert Williams is one of the stars who comes up during the time of this Tulsa riot. His book is amazing, brothers and sisters. And what he was not able to do as an artist forecast what we're going to wind up being in terms of dealing with Hollywood and things like that, that the system was not going to allow us to be free. The democratization of black life, black expression is not going to happen. We will always be going through a prism. For every bad boy, there's 50 non-bad boys. For every no limit soldiers, there's 500 non-no limit soldiers. And it is the aspect that the absence of democracy is also the absence of opportunity, the absence of financial ability, financial mobility, if you will, to be able to move wealth is the thing that I think we overlook. The massacres were horrible. They were horrific. They were criminal. But in that 35 blocks of stuff that was torn up was a lifestyle. It was culture. And the one thing that happened from the burning of these places is that the culture was gone. And this may sound strange. It may sound strange. I'm trying to frame it the right way. But the people who propagate the big lie, the people who say Donald Trump won, the elections were rigged, don't take the vaccine, the insurrection didn't happen, I'm going to give them credit on this regard. And pay attention. I will give them credit that for all the negativity, all the foolishness, all the outright lies, they've done something that we have not been able to do, and that is establish a value culture. We're not talking about arts. No, we're not talking about arts. We're not talking about medicine. These people have found in 2020 and 2021, they have developed a culture. They have developed a culture. What is a cult? A cult is a culture. CULT, culture. It's the same thing. They developed a culture, brothers and sisters. In that culture has been the fact that they have set out to make sure that they kill democracy for everybody. And now, and the interesting thing is they knew they could kill democracy, and here's how, because they knew democracy didn't work for everybody. History shows, just like in this brother's book, history shows, even in entertainment, democracy does not work for everybody. So as great an entertainer as Burt Williams was, he never experienced democracy. He was an immigrant from the Bahamas. He came from places that there were monarchs and things like that, kings and things. He came to the United States and he established so many wonderful things, but he never ever tasted the fruit of democracy. And the thing that we shouldn't overlook, brothers and sisters, is that as much culture as we have, people have found a way to peel democracy away from it. So yeah, we can sing and dance, we can hoop and holler, we can be in our churches, we can do all this type of stuff, we can rap, we can do spoken word, but in the end, your culture does not defend, protect, or propagate democracy. And why do I say that? Because democracy is dead. It's been dead. The thing is, people keep giving us substitutes for democracy. For the Native Americans, it was a treaty. For the African Americans, it was the Emancipation Proclamation. These are not things that give you democracy, brothers and sisters. People say they give you freedom. No, they give you truth. They give you truth, God's truth. You can't own another man. You know, we get into these semantics, for lack of a better word. We think we win. And we have to stop doing that. We think we win. It's like when the stock market crashes, it's 25,000 points, and then it crashes 15,000 points, and then it comes up to 23,000 points, and everybody goes, yeah, do the math. You're still 2,000 points for where you were when it crashed. You haven't broken even. And in our society, I don't know if it's an absence, and every black man need to have a calculator just to keep score. Just keep score of the stuff that you see, or abacus. I don't care, because we literally tied into this thing that we're happy not even breaking even. Democracy is not a concept where you're supposed to break even. It's meant to stay even, and then you expand, you evolve. We've never ever expanded. We never experienced that. NAACP, CORE, SNCC, the people who tried to do democracy on their own, Nation of Islam, they were castigated. They were castigated by white people. They were castigated by black people. Black people going, that ain't the way the white man say do it. I'm going to do it like the white man. And they didn't have the support. W.D. Muhammad, that ain't the way they told us to do it. We're going to do it like this man over here in Saudi Arabia told us to do it. It's the same thing. You pray to the same people who are not going to do nothing for you. And I would add this, not to be redundant, but people have come to realize and count on us being people we replicate. You know, we'll replicate the same sense. If you ever read the book Wretched of the Earth by Frantz Fanon, he has a term in there called false ego ideal. And we suffer false ego ideal. That's why we never got to democracy, brothers and sisters. And I'll give you a great a good example of false ego ideal. And false ego ideal. When the Belgians colonized parts of the Congo, okay, when they colonized parts of the Congo, they made the people in the Congo forget part of their religion, how you dress. You're going to go to school. You're going to learn this. They substituted their whole culture out. You're going to do it like we do it in Belgium. That's what we're going to make these Negroes just like in Belgium. You ain't looking like you in Belgium. We're going to make it that way. And when the uprising came and they kicked the Belgians out, the Belgians said fine. But when the Belgians left, they took the raw materials. They took the textiles. They took part of the culture to the point where the Africans who were still there said, well, we don't know what to do. And eventually they had to invite the oppressors back in to put in that infrastructure to keep on oppressing them. That's America. That's America. That's Black America. That's Latino America. That is parts of white America. That is Asian America. We have not got to the point where we move past false ego ideal. And I tell folks this all the time. And I am a witness. That given an opportunity, a free opportunity to come up with a model better than the one that oppressed you, 9.99 times out of 10, you're going to replicate the same model that. So we talking about we don't want drugs in the neighborhood. The white man bring drugs in the neighborhood, but the white man stopped bringing drugs in the neighborhood, but we go and get drugs and sell them in the neighborhood. That's what we do. We want a certain type of education. We don't want that type of education. Well, you know what? Given an opportunity to do something different, charter schools, HBCUs, we tend to replicate the same bad model that was given to us. Now, this is not any kind of indictment on anybody. This is just history. And I want to be careful I want to be observant and very clear. This is history. Across the span of history, there are people who couldn't do better. They talk about if you know better, you can do better. There are people that he didn't even know better. And still, all praise to the law, they found out how they could do better. My challenge now is not to the Black folks and the Latinos and Native Americans. My challenge is to my white brothers and sisters to wake up and understand at this point in time, the crisis in the white community is a culture has evolved that lets you know that democracy doesn't work for you anymore. We know it didn't work for us. It don't work for you anymore. And because of that, you're panicking. We don't need you to come over here. We're figuring it out. We've been figuring it out. We're not here by mistake. You need to go to your white brothers and sisters and tell them to put down those ropes and take those hoods off and all those things and have a conversation. That conversation is, if we're not going to have democracy, if democracy is dead, let's just be honest about it. Getting back to the facts of what I'm saying, and I'm going to throw this out here. Getting back to the facts of what I'm saying, this is not just a farmer in down south with no education. These are politicians who make policies, brothers and sisters, on the premise of this is a democratic process. It's no democratic process. You can't even get a commission to look at an insurrection that we all saw on television. Democratic process for some people means I'm going to blunt your truth. I'm going to blunt your reality. That's not democracy. That's a dictatorship. Roberto said they don't care about the law. They charge the laws at will. Yes, we are not a country. We're not a democratic country. We are a litigious state. We are a country of laws. And with that being said, Brother Roberto, let me throw this out here. That's why they don't want to talk about critical race theory. They want critical race theory out of the schools, the colleges. If you put critical race theory on your resume right now trying to get a job, you will not get that job, I guarantee. Because critical race theory makes you look at the merits and the foundations of the law in a historical perspective. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What's going on, Jay? I got your text. The book is Introducing Burt Williams, Burnt Court, Broadway, and the Story of America's First Black Star. Can you get that? Does that make sense? Okay. I've read this book several times. It is a hard read because Burt Williams is truly an inspirational character, truly a trailblazer. I mean, we talk about pioneers. I mean, he is a pioneer. I don't think Black entertainment is where it is without a Burt Williams. Let me just say that. His entrepreneurial spirit was tried, broken, and he worked in a space, brothers and sisters, where the democracy did not work for him. It didn't work for him and anything else he was trying to do. Now, we have things, we have a Civil Rights Act and things like that, but it still remains that democracy in the United States is huddled for the few. Several groups of people determine how free you can be. And I say this because I want to make sure that I don't forget, even as an entertainer, I can say things and you'll never hear from me again. You'll never hear from me again. I could say something about State of Israel, never hear from me again. And people go, what do you mean? What do you mean? I said, because people are afraid. People are very, very afraid of folks. Even though I said democracy is dead, they're afraid of folks who say, well, I'm going to create my own democracy. Your democracy is dead. Mine is flourishing. Your democracy is dead. Well, I'm going to build schools. Your democracy is dead. I'm going to build businesses. Your democracy is dead. I'm going to get education. Your democracy is dead. I'm going to own the business that you work at. So literally watching the documentaries on Black Wall Street, amongst all the other things that hurt, that really, really tore my spirit. When I say tear my spirit, I mean I watched it and I had to make dua afterwards because there's a reticent anger that you have. Because when you see the survivors talking about that, they were achieving nothing short of a miracle, brothers and sisters. They were achieving nothing short of a miracle. And that miracle was they democratized themselves. I'm talking about in the 1921, they democratized it. They didn't worry about what white people were talking about. They took the best of the ideas that they had heard about. They're not even 50 years or 60 years out of slavery, brothers and sisters. They're taking the ideas and they said, we're going to run with it because our idea is so much better than what they've been showing us. It's so much clearer and accessible of what they've been telling us. We can do it, and they did it. And the reason why I say democracy is dead is because we live in a culture when people don't like what you say or what you do, how you make your money, and in some cases, who you love, or who you pray to, they kill it. And that's not even called democracy. That's called murder. So, if anybody wants to get the book, Introducing Burt Williams, written by Camille Forbes, who does an excellent job on this book. Camille Forbes does an excellent job. Check it out, because every once in a while, you want to read about stuff in times that happen in comparison. You know, there's a parallel between Burt Williams and the Tulsa riots, because he's an entertainer during this time. And you'd be surprised what he did as a result of the Tulsa riots. He created a spot where he began to educate young entertainers, not about just being performers, but being people who produce content. So he was one of our first content producers, brothers and sisters. Even though, and he evolved past the blackface. He revolutionized blackface. I digress. So listen, let me go ahead and get out. Let me go ahead and make sure I get out our thank yous and our sponsors. I appreciate you guys for coming on. Brother Rashid, thank you for coming on again. It was a blast having you and hosting you. Who else we got? We got Derek. Okay, we got Baby Cakes. Okay, all right. What am I saying? My mom recalls my mom Baby Cakes. I don't know why. Yeah, I'll call my mom Baby Cakes. Too close to Crab Cakes. We from Maryland. My mama killed me. Mama Crab Cakes. All right. Let's give a shout out to our sponsors. First, we're going to give a shout out to BeFinanciallyIndependent.com. Again, that's BeFinanciallyIndependent.com. If you don't have an email or you don't have access to Wi-Fi, you can go old school. Call 1-800-679-3175. Again, that's 1-800-679-3175 as well. We want to give a shout out. Don't forget, on our Saturday Spotlight, we'll have the founder, the originator of BeFinanciallyIndependent.com on a Saturday Spotlight. That's Miss Maxine B.K. Esquire, not Harvard, but Howard Law School graduate. She will be on talking about aspects. And I wrote her intro today. And I used the word boutique. I said it is, a boutique financial advising organization, because it's interesting when you have people who talk about money in a philosophical way, but also in an applicable way. Because sometimes people don't understand, you don't have to have money to talk about money. The conversation is being in preparation, so when the money comes, you know what to do. Like, you have to have a rehearsal for when you get money. Sort of like when you go to a store and you give the person your money for the purchase and you stick your hand out. But that's a response. You expect money for a purchase of goods. You expect your change back. Well, I think this is interesting because I think this conversation is really going to frame a lot of what we've been needing to hear. Maybe we forgot, which is, let's get to some of these pathways. Let's remove some of these obstacles that we've been dealing with a lot in terms of building wealth, not just wealth, but generational wealth. I always, when I hear generational wealth, I always think of Notorious B.I.G. said, I'm just out here trying to feed my daughter. I'm like, man, that's generational wealth right there. He had some other songs that I really liked that actually touched on generational wealth. He touched on a lot of things, but there's always a message in the music. So definitely, we're gonna have that out. Thank you, Maxine. We're shouting you out. So we are prepared to be dazzled on Saturday. Don't be late. All right, and I'm also going to give a shout out to, of course, Bayan Islamic Graduate School. Bayan Islamic Graduate School, thank you guys again for supporting us. Our Ramadan 30 for 30. Thank you for supporting me for the last 3 years, getting my scholarship, and then getting my master's in Islamic education. And also helping out let's just put out a lot of African-American brothers and sisters who normally would not have applied for a master's program. A lot of us got the Muhammad Ali scholarship, and it is very important to acknowledge that because we come from communities where we're workers. We come from communities where we are engagement people. And when you're workers and engagement people, you have to have a plethora of skills to get things done. And so even with Islamic education, it allowed me to understand not just so much how you teach children, but how you grow young men and grow young women with education. How our experience with the Claire Muhammad schools, going back God knows how long, how that was a basis for Islamic schools here in the United States. And while we don't have a whole lot of Claire Muhammad schools left anymore, it was that benching that idea that we must have a private institution for education to make sure that we are telling our stories correctly and we are putting out education and taking in education meaningfully, number one, but also truthfully. Education that reflects the environment that we're in. That doesn't happen a lot of times. So shout out for that. Listen, everybody, you've been great. I think I've mentioned the book, introducing the book, Bert Williams. Check that out. I will be reading it for the third time. And I plan on actually referring to it a couple times during some shows to give you some of the parallels, because he was a big time performer in 1921. In that hotel that they talk about, I got something for you. So listen, I'm going to get out of here. You guys have been amazing. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Preacher Mars, shout out show. There you are. I know you're looking at your screen going, that's a good looking black man. And you're right. I'm Preacher Mars, and you're not. Today I want to talk about Olive Branch Muslim Family Services, better known as the people who help people. And I need you to help the people who help people so they can continue to, you guess it, help people. Get it? Got it? Good. Olive Branch Muslim Family Services. Action you can see, compassion you can feel. Graphic now.